The third, Legiones Astartes, the Emperor's Children. The legionaries of the Emperor's Children have always strived to be exemplars above all others in the arts of war. Paragons of martial virtue and excellence, scorning those who did not meet their standards. This led to them to seek perfection in war as a fluid, lightning quick force whose battles were preordained victories brought about by a combination of acute strategic planning and flawless execution. Always they sought greater challenges against which to prove themselves and attained greater glories in turn. From this vaunted height, the third legion would descend into treachery and become the lowest and most vile of creatures, enslaved to pride and consumed by desires that no natural power could fulfill. The history of the Legion's deeds before its fall is not simply a history of what it was and what it achieved, but a history of how it created its own doom. For as the ancient text says, pride goeth before destruction. And seldom has this proverb been more apt than in the case of the third legion. Hey friends, it's me, the Ebony Otaku, the well-rounded nerd. We're talking about my second favorite of the chaotic Primarchs. Remember story time when you were a kid? Turn the page, children. Bling. You remember those books, don't you? Fulgrim and the Emperor's Children. Oh, what a tale, what a tale. First of all, look at the Phoenician. Look at him. If you've seen my Emperor's Children that I'm painting, I was not wrong in my color choices. They're going to be as gaudy gets, because that's what the Emperor's Children do, and I respect them for it. You be you, honey. You be you. Now, let's be clear. Every single one of the Space Marine Legions are emblems of perfection. They are the greatest warriors that have ever been created out of humankind. I have to put that caveat there because Eldar exist, Tau exist, and if you know why the Necrons are the Necrons, there's a story. But amongst human warriors, there are none greater than the Emperor's Primarchs and their gene sons, the Space Marines. Amongst the 20 brothers, 2 of which have gone missing, if you know, you know, amongst the Primarch sons of the Emperor, all of them are seeking the approval of their Emperor father. They all want to be his favorite, the chosen, the strongest. Every Primarch is more impressive and magnificent than the last one. How do you stand out as excellence when everyone around you is excellent? The pressure. And not to mention, we read about Horus first out of my big book that makes me so happy. We read about Horus first, and Horus was out there warring with Daddy Emperor for many, many years before the other Primarchs were recovered. You can never compare to Big Brother. Now, anyone out there got siblings? In most families, sibling number 1 is the most perfect, the most favored, None can compare. There's one sibling out of all of them that just, they're number one, and that's just how it is. You know who it is, and you know if it's not you. But every single one of the legions ends up having kind of a theme to it. That's kind of the beauty of Warhammer. They created the Space Marine legions and then all of the other warring classes so that no matter who read, when they read, we could all find somewhere to identify ourselves within the universe. You know, we've got the Adeptus Sororitas, the girl Space Marines. You know, we have our Inquisition, the upholders of justice and law. Of course, we have our regular old Imperial troops out there with Minka Lesk and the Cadians and Cadia stands. But then there are the Space Marines. And to stand out amongst excellence, Primarchs would go the extra mile. They're all intelligent. They are all great arbitrators of justice. They're all incredible tacticians, builders, everything. Each of them then grasped onto something even more unique, and those unique traits are what let us as readers and experiencers of the lore and the games find the ones we connect with. There are people who despise the Emperor's Children and would want nothing to do with them as far as the game and lore are concerned. I think they're great, you know, because they just became their true selves. What was always in there is what came out. Chaos doesn't corrupt, chaos reveals. But as much as I love the Horus Heresy series, I would never do a Horus army. I would never do the Sons of Horus or the Luna Wolves because, ew, Nurgle. You know, we all have our preferences. So Games Workshop and the Black Library, very clever in how they created this universe so everyone could find themselves. But our boy Fulgrim, the way that he stands out, the way his legion raises themselves up is in perfection. They strive for perfection. No, not like their other legions. Obviously, they're all demigods, so there's a level of perfection that already exists there. No, they take it to an obsessive level. These are the OCDs of the Space Marines. These are the hyper-focused. Fulgrim's mantra is whatever you're going to do it excellently and do it beautifully. That's what you do in Fulgrim's Legion. If you can't do it perfectly and look good while doing it, you can't be in his legion. The Emperor's Children were the only legion that welcomed remembrancers. They've all got them out there. The remembrancers are, you know, the artists of the Imperium. They record the great deeds and various artistic works. And the Emperor's Children were all about having their great deeds recorded for posterity in sculptures, paintings, music, writing, and the rest of it. And all of those remembrancers who were on Fulgrim's flagship met a very nasty end when they fully gave themselves over into chaos. Fulgrim's story and the story of the Emperor's Children I find so compelling because they are the legion that exemplifies, you know, what is in us comes out when pressure is applied. The Emperor's Children did not sink into chaos. That pursuit of perfection, which honestly was a result of them having a gene blight within their gene seed, they were a legion that wasn't allowed to war across the galaxies with the rest of the legions because basically they were sick. They had a genetic defect. And once that was overcome by Fabius Bile and his machinations, you know, they went overboard. They went overkill in trying to be perfect because they had long not been a part of the battlefield. They were not feeling as worthy as their other battle brothers. They felt like they had something to prove. And that obsessive need to prove one's worth can drive people into making horrid decisions. I did it because I wanted my father to be proud of me. I wanted my mother to notice me. I wanted to be better or best than my siblings. That is a dangerous state of mind. Chaos didn't corrupt Fulgrim. Fulgrim was already corrupted. That's what the blight represents in a literary sense. They were already infected. What chaos does isn't destroy, kill, maim. Chaos only exposes what's already there. It makes it obvious to all concerned that there's a crack in the armor, that there's a way in. And Fulgrim let chaos in, and it destroyed his legion. The Primarch Fulgrim, long forgotten Chemos, was a gray-skied and gray-skinned mining world where hope was thin and drudgery the coin of life. Privation was common on Chemos, and the isolated human population that abided there suffered slow decay. Despite all these hardships, Fulgrim rose quickly to power. Compared to the wretches that breathed the slow poison of Chemos' polluted atmosphere, Fulgrim was pale-skinned and fine-boned, like some ancient paragon of grace-given life. Ash-white hair framed a handsome face, and his violet eyes held a spark of delight. Fulgrim inspired hope with his intellect, his mien, and his practiced humility in respect of his own brilliance. Once reunited with his legion in war, thought, craft, and creation, he excelled effortlessly. He reorganized the Emperor's children in a manner that suited his own exacting nature. Nothing was left to whim or chance. Everything was deliberate and assessed for its aesthetic and functional value. Fulgrim was fond of remarking that if one was to excel, then no detail was too small to consider, and that the quality of the whole lay in the quality of its constituents. In ordering his legion, it is not an order, albeit with some leeway for flair. It's not surprising that Fulgrim favored formality, conformity. He sought to maintain the majesty of his legion, recruiting from the ruling elite of worlds brought into compliance. He was a being who reveled in the beauty of art, music, poetry, insisting that those around him were more than just warriors, but artisans of the finest aspects of humanity. Fulgrim's only flaw was his pride. And it is among the greatest tragedies of the Horus Heresy that one of the Emperor's most noble paragons would be corrupted through this weakness and brought from the height of glory to the basis nadir of degeneracy. What happened to Fulgrim can happen to anyone. When his capsule landed on the planet of Chemos and he was found by his adoptive parents, it was said that they'd never seen a more beautiful child, and it was obvious he didn't belong amongst them. From the moment of his existence, he was exalted as a perfected god, and he carried that into his legion. It must be useful, but it must be beautiful. And that combination of obsessive perfection would be the downfall of Fulgrim and his legion. If you want to get into Fulgrim, he has his own novel in the Horus Heresy series, and it is called Fulgrim. My recommendations would be in this order: Fulgrim, Angel Exterminatus, which is also about Fulgrim, and Perturabo. And then you can wrap it up with a nice bow by finding out what happened to that particular Space Marine apothecary who started Fulgrim down the road to chaos, Fabius Bile. His last name is Bile. Of course he was going to be a villain. That's how literature works. I'm loving exploring this book and talking about the Primarchs. I hope you're enjoying it as well. We've only made it to 2, and there's so much in here. I love this. I love this book so much. I cannot wait to study more of the other Primarchs, show you more of the art in here. I'm not going to read the entire book. This is part of the modern lexicon for Warhammer, so she's not trying to get sued. Games Workshop, please be my friend. Black Library, I love you. I just want more people to be into the lore in the game. That's all we're doing here. But I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. It's a shorter video. She can corral herself and not talk for days. It's possible. Mostly because she's trying to get to the gym. And that's why this video was shorter. So let me just go ahead and tell on myself. But as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.